Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aashika Reddy, and today I'm so excited to share my project with you. It's called Harmony, a machine learning-based adaptive music neurostimulation system for pediatric epilepsy. Now, before we begin, just a really quick introduction. Like I said before, my name is Aashika. I'm a senior at Cornell Carter, and I live in Toronto. My mentor was Eric Cheek, and I'm interested in neuroscience, music, and biotech. And a fun fact is that I have a huge music background. I've been doing music for like 13 years now, so I love this project is kind of like a love child between music and neuroscience. All right, so imagine that your child or your friend was laughing with classmates when suddenly their body stiffens, their eyes roll back, and they collapse into a seizure. Sadly, this is the daily reality for about 1 in every 100 Canadian children living with epilepsy and about almost 500,000 children around the world living with epilepsy. Yet, despite this prevalence, treatment options remain limited and medications don't work for about 30% of children. Surgery is often too risky, and even advanced wearable devices like the Embrace 2 wristband can only detect seizures after they've already started. By that point, neurological distress is already underway. This reality led me to ask, how can we move from reactive to proactive seizure intervention? My solution is Harmony, a system designed to predict seizures before they escalate and intervene with scientifically validated music therapy. But let's step back. Why music? So, epileptic seizures arise from neural hyperexcitability, which is an imbalance between excitatory and inhibitory signals in the brain. Specifically, overactive glutamate signaling and weakened GABAergic inhibition lead to uncontrolled synchronized discharges. Music therapy acts as a auditory neuromodulation. When you listen to music, your auditory cortex entrains to its rhythm, and this synchronization spreads across the hippocampus, thalamus, and motor cortex, which are all regions implicated in epilepsy. Mozart's Sonata K448 is one of the most famous examples. It's been shown to enhance GABAergic inhibition, restore balance to hyperactive circuits, reduce epileptic form discharges, and stimulate 40 hertz gamma oscillations, which are rhythms that are associated with cognition and seizure suppression. So, in short, structured, predictable music doesn't just sound soothing, it literally resynchronizes the chaotic brain networks. But the problem is, not every child enjoys Mozart. Well, that's why I asked, well, how could we preserve these therapeutic building blocks but reimagine them in genres that kids actually want to listen to? So, to begin, I focused on the seizure prediction. I used a CHB MIT Pediatric dataset, which contained about 200 hours of brain activity recordings from 5 children with epilepsy. To prepare the data, I built an ETL pipeline, which basically I first extracted the raw EEG recordings and then I transformed the data by segmenting it into 10-second windows and labeling each window as either seizure or non seizure. I then extracted the statistical features such as the mean, standard deviation, and energy from each segment, and then I loaded all of this data into a structured dataset ready for machine learning. I trained a random forest classifier, which is a type of ML model, and tested 3 successive versions of the model. The baseline model was trained on the original imbalanced dataset, where the seizures made up less than 1% of the data. So then I applied a technique called SMOTE, which generates synthetic seizure samples to balance the dataset. And then finally, I fine-tuned the detection threshold to increase the model's sensitivity and improve its ability to actually catch the seizures. Now for phase two. So once I had a functioning prediction system, I turned to the music itself. So previous studies have shown that Mozart's Sonata is uniquely effective at reducing seizures because of 4 characteristics: predictable rhythm, harmonic stability, motif repetition, and rhythmic modulation. So I wanted to retrain these therapeutic characteristics, but translate them into genres that kids actually enjoy listening to. So using Logic Pro and a MIDI keyboard, I composed 7 original therapeutic tracks across diverse genres like pop, R&B, jazz, rock, country, etc. And each song was designed to embed the Mozart's building blocks while adapting them into a more modern musical style. So to scientifically validate my compositions, however, I developed a composite similarity score that integrated 11 neuromusicological features. So this score placed the most weight on melody and scale stability, as these were expected to be the most strongest therapeutic drivers. And then I analyzed the melodic structure by examining the pitch intervals, measuring the motif recurrence using self-similarity matrices, and evaluated the scales and harmonic stability by quantifying the balance between diatonic and chromatic tones, by using cadence frequency. And then for rhythm and temporal features, I assessed the periodicity, the presence of the 40 hertz components, and then I conducted abletion tests where I removed the melody, rhythm, or repetition to measure exactly how much of a contribution each element will have to the overall therapeutic similarity. So for the results for my machine learning model, the baseline model received a recall of only about 32%, and it missed 11 seizures. But after applying SMELT, the recall improved to around 70%, and then in the final version with the threshold optimization set to 0.1, the recall rose to 90% with a 98% accuracy rate, so reducing the missed seizures from 11 down to just 3, which is a 73% improvement. So this improvement came with 85 false positives, however, but this trade-off was intentional. In medicine, false negatives are far more dangerous than false positives. For example, missing a seizure could cause real harm to a child, while a false positive only means playing calming music unnecessarily. And I also integrated a component into the whole model where you can stop the music if you're not actually having a seizure. So while the accuracy was really high, that it could be misleading because in the imbalanced data sets, it was dominated by the larger number of non-seizure events. So instead of emphasizing accuracy, we emphasize recall, which measures the percentage of actual seizures that the model successfully detected. And in the medical context, this is the most important part. So finally, I also measured how quickly the system responded. The model achieved an average prediction lead time of under 8 seconds, meaning it could provide an early warning before a seizure was fully escalated, and the detection delay was also minimal, ensuring that the therapeutic music begins playing almost immediately after the seizure onset is detected. Now, in terms of the results for the music similarity testing. So the composite similarity analysis showed that my therapeutic tracks clustered significantly closer to Mozart's sonata than random control tracks. So this confirms that the therapeutic DNA of Mozart's music was preserved across all my compositions. Among the features tested, the 40 Hz entrainment had the strongest effect with a large effect size, and this confirmed that the rhythmic stability in the gamma frequency band is central to seizure reduction. Melody was also critical because when I removed the melody, it caused a major drop in the similarity score, so that's how we know that it was actually critical to how the similarities formed. And for genre-specific results, revealed meaningful differences. So the pop tracks actually achieved the strongest rhythmic and gamma alignment, making it the most promising candidate for therapeutic use. The R&B and chill pop tracks demonstrated good melodic layering, but less sharp rhythmic articulation. Neo-soul emphasized harmonic richness, but lacked the speed needed for gamma entrainment, and rock and country preserved the timbre and the rhythm, but they showed moderate similarity with the strumming patterns, while EDM had a very rigid rhythmic regularity, but missed Mozart's micro-timing completely. So that one was not as similar. And jazz actually captured the melodic creativity, but the looser timing kind of reduced the gamma modulation. So taken together, these results show that while all the genres preserved Mozart's therapeutic framework, tracks with tighter rhythm and stable melodies aligned more strongly with seizure suppression features. But most importantly, this provides that proves that children do not need to listen to Mozart alone. They can engage with music that they genuinely enjoy while still receiving measurable neurological benefits. Finally was integration. So I brought all these components together into a working system. Harmony is a Flask-based web application. You can hear the music playing right now. That connects a wearable EEG sensors to discrete in-ear monitors, like the ones in the picture. And essentially what happens is that the EEG data is collected, and then once that is run through the system app, once a seizure is detected or predicted, it'll start playing the music automatically into your monitors. So, in conclusion, most of the current tools for epilepsy are reactive. They sound an alarm after a child has already collapsed. Harmony is proactive. It predicts seizures early and delivers therapeutic music instantly, and it adapts to each child's musical preferences. And it is scalable. The system can run on a $50 microcontroller, making it accessible not just in hospitals, but in classrooms, homes, and even resource-limited communities. For children, this means transforming epilepsy care from fear and helplessness to control and peace, delivered in a song that feels just like their own. Thank you so much, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Well done, Aashika. Thank you so very much for sharing this research with us. Really interesting work. One of my first questions is you started by telling us that you yourself are a musician,
Mhm.
have been for 13 years. So at what point did you consider connecting music to medicine or music to science? And walk us through that.
Sure. So yeah, I've been doing music since I was like 6 years old. That's definitely been a huge passion of mine. Science and research have also been like a passion of mine ever since I was like 13 and I kind of figured out what research was. I wanted to intersect the two because these are like the two things that I love most in the world. And I felt that there was a gap in the market for epilepsy care and like a non-invasive care for children especially. So I found that music therapy was a huge thing and that it was under-researched, and I felt like with my musical background I was able to like analyze this Mozart sonata like from a music theory perspective, so then I can create those into different songs, into different genres and stuff like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And what is the history of this Mozart effect? Was this something that you as a musician were aware of, or was it only since you started learning more about epilepsy that this came to fruition?
I actually started learning about this more once I started researching about epilepsy and neurological disorders. I do know that they also use music therapy for Alzheimer's, which is one of the first things that I considered. But I wanted to focus more on epilepsy because I felt like, especially for pediatric epilepsy, there was a lack of care and a lack of like um, interventions for them. So I felt like it was more useful for me to kind of help the children that were suffering on a day-to-day basis and they didn't have any like care that they can have with them.
That's wonderful. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate this.
Okay,
And
thank you so
it's
much.
wonderful to know too that there is that connection to Alzheimer's and potentially a way to scale harmony, this incredible tool. So well done. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.